Is he a half-devil goatman of pagan lore, an evil counterpart of St. Nicholas? The more I dove into the origins of this creature, the more complex and surprising the fables and facts became. So let's discover together what it all means. But first, like, subscribe, and ring my bell, because I make a new video every week. Now, let's delve into the history and the mythology of the Krampus. Oh boy, I tell you, this has probably been the hardest video for me to produce. Just rife with trouble from the start, between losing actual coloring, losing video footage, corrupted voice data. Oh my gods, you guys. And that's not accounting that this was a really big iceberg to look into, and I had only the basic idea of the myth beforehand. My understanding was that the Krampus was just a sort of anti-Santa. Like when you hear about the naughty and nice list, Krampus just the guy who takes the other half of that. But there's so much to get into that left me feeling winded by the end of it. I combed through articles for days to try and find all the answers and the best way to weave them into response for you guys. Maybe even make it a bit of a story, but the fact is, the truth is even stranger than the fiction. What are the origins of the Krampus? To be truthful, no one really knows for sure. Almost like Kernanos, pre-Christian information about Krampus is scattered, misleading, and questionable. Though it is thought and often said that it has roots in Alpine and Germanic folklore, some have even called Krampus a child of Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld. But looking into Norse mythology, Hel is only said to have one child, a Valkyrie named Hjalmar, who ends up becoming one of the mythical winged beings from Norse paganism. And it kind of sounds like the basis for a Christian angel. Valkyries are said to give aid to the warriors of Valhalla, and that couldn't be further from the goat-like embodiment of Krampus. But then there's the story of the Yule goat, also Norse, that is representative of the god Thor. Thor would regularly fly around through the clouds on a sleigh pulled by two goats. This could have been an inspiration for Krampus, since it bears a striking resemblance to Santa and his reindeer. But many pagan gods refer back to or resemble goats because they were associated with the harvest season. Though I guess there's also the notion that Santa Claus himself is not only based on many myths originally attributed to Odin, the Norse Allfather, but that Krampus is meant to be an evil counterpart to St. Nick, and this could lead back to that as well. The best guess we have is the origin of the Krampus is in Alpine and Germanic folklore, though. He's associated with the goddess Percha as a possible offspring, but even this is unclear, because even the name of this goddess seems to stem from the name of Charlemagne's mother. This guy is in way too much stuff. But given that, I guess it could just be the after effects of Christianity spreading through Europe during the 5th century all the way up through the 11th century BCE. What we do know for certain about this period, however, is that the traditions known as Krampusnacht, the Night of Krampus, wasn't recorded until 1582 in Gießen, where the deity Percha had regular yearly festivals. What is the Krampus, and why is he so terrifying? Respected? Let's look into that, and what it all means. What does Krampus do? Well, Krampusnacht refers to a festival observed on the 5th of December, when it's said that Krampus would descend from his home in the Alps and wander villages, towns, and homes below in search of naughty children. Children found misbehaving by the Krampus would be captured, stuffed into baskets, hit with reeds, child abuse, or sometimes even eaten, worse than child abuse. Well, you know, that's all well and good, but see, I met Krampus, personally, twice this year. And he didn't hit anybody. So, maybe he's learned since then. In large part, stories of the Krampus were told in tandem with Santa Claus starting in the 1800s as a means of frightening naughty children into behaving unless they wanted to incur the wrath of the monster. This is why, in many ways, he's shown alongside Father Christmas. He represents the duality between the two, light and dark, good and evil, reward and reprimand. Krampus is usually depicted with black fur, red, green, or black skin, and horns, with the oldest depictions having multiple sets, sometimes 4 or more. Wait a second. It descends from the mountains, green skin, parallel to set. Is Krampus the Grinch? No, you guys, seriously, is Krampus... is Krampus the Grinch, but is the Grinch... Was the Grinch inspired by Krampus? I hadn't thought of it until just now. But... Whoa. Put that on the iceberg, I'm gonna look it up later. Performers taking part in traditional Krampusnacht celebrations would don special wooden masks with real animal horns affixed to them and a long fur coat. They parade through towns with reeds, pitchforks, baskets, or sacks and frighten the townsfolk. Christmas postcards from 1890s and early 20th century depicted Krampus along a signature phrase, Gruß von Krampus, which translates easily to Greetings from Claw. It's the Claw! Not the Claw! Yes, Krampus means claw. Like Sandy Claus. I don't know. But I really was surprised in all my research to discover that a lot of the hyped up pagan roots of Krampus that even I believed may not be close to the actual story. So many sources try to indicate that Krampus is far older, ancient even, than any of our sources would suggest. We talked about the witch cult hypothesis before, and how Cernunnos, another horned deity, is falsely attributed to ancient worship of an organized witch-led religion. That's also not the case. But maybe there's a good reason for that. Trigger warning for this part of the video, as I'm going to be discussing fascism. Give yourself a moment to prepare, or if you'd rather not, then please just skip to the timestamp on the screen right now. If you're still here, I'll begin. In the mid-1930s in Austria, a conservative political group known for authoritarian right-wing control tried to put a stop to Krampusnacht celebrations. The Catholic-based politicians in Austria saw Krampus as an affront to their beliefs and had decided to put a stop to it. This group was the Fatherland Front, led by Engelbert Dollfuss. During this short period of only 5 years, celebrations and depictions of Krampus were strictly prohibited by the Austrian government. Anyone seen dressing as Krampus was apparently arrested, and even depictions of St. Nicholas were heavily monitored and regulated by this political party. However, in 1938, World War II was starting to rear its head, and the neighboring country of Germany was under control of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. The Nazi Party, who were never socialists to begin with, forcefully invaded Austria and usurped the power of the Fatherland Front. This also allowed for Austrians to resume celebrating Krampusnacht, and in many ways the fascistic leaders at the time tried to use Krampus as a symbol of freedom from oppression. I guess it's easier to think that the people who are bombing your home are your heroes if they're getting rid of the fascists that are already at your door. So in some ways, it worked, at least for a time. But following the end of World War II, the dissolution of the Nazi Party, and the freeing of Austria by Allied forces, it meant that the local citizens quickly reclaimed Krampus from being associated with fascistic ideology and symbolism. Which is great, honestly, but a bitter pill to swallow. Personally, I really like the idea of Krampus, but I hate the idea of him being associated with values that are so completely disaligned with my own. Fascists have no place in society, and we don't entertain their message, lack of ethics, and totalitarian mindset. But enough about villainous beliefs. I think that many myths and legends may be twisted and retold in a variety of different ways, and without an original source, it's impossible to know exactly where the origins come from. It's what allows religious leaders to control people all throughout history. And with the Christianization of Europe, Krampus became associated with the devil, or Satan, as an evil counterpart to Saint Nicholas, who was based on Odin. But is there any way to survive being found by the Krampus? Well, some texts indicate that Krampus may be stopped from his pursuit of capturing children if he's given an apple, an orange, or some other kind of fruit. No, you guys, I'm serious. I really think that the Grinch was based on Krampus. Because didn't they even give him a feast at the end, and his heart grew 3 sizes, and he was all their friend again, and then he just kind of left back to the mountain and didn't hurt anybody. I'm just saying. Maybe think about it. And I suppose that makes sense when you think about it, though. All year, all night, however you split it, Krampus is expected to dish out punishment and retribution to the ill-behaved and mean. A simple act of kindness and generosity throws him off, distracts him, or even just makes him feel better, enough to just leave. Funny story, that's exactly what happened in the picture here. Look at how calm the child looks despite Krampus' frightening appearance. He's not carrying his reeds or a basket. He almost looks protective. So, maybe the innocent don't need to fear Krampus. They're the ones who can help him feel a little holiday cheer with a sweet gift, a little warmth of heart, and a hug. I know you didn't come here this week to end on a sappy story, but that's what I've got for you. Modern renditions of Krampus have really taken the holiday season by storm, with books, games, movies, merchandise, and yes, even performers, like in times of old. There's such a long, complex, and questionable history around this character that I just couldn't help but want to share it with you all this Yule. So I hope you appreciate the information as much as I enjoyed finding it. And Krampus has been getting extremely popular, hasn't he? So this is unprecedented. I'm adding this in later than usual because I had a fairly unique experience after recording this. I got to talk to Krampus again. And so I asked him, how is it that with all of these different myths, what are you? How am I supposed to string this all together? And as he peeled the orange that I gave him, he looked at me like I was absolutely out of my mind, and he said, I can't. What? And then he told me the secret of Krampus. The reason why there are so many disparate myths about the same creature and why it's impossible to string them all together is because there are 4 Krampuses! I was fighting a losing battle from the beginning, and oh my god, the flames on the side of my face when I found out this information were only extinguished by the validity that I felt that it wasn't a me problem, that it was a fundamental misunderstanding because of how history has treated the Krampus. About how the fascistic regimes that tried to eliminate them bastardize everything about the old stories. And then I was calm because it all became clear. Leave a like, subscribe, or ring my bell if you haven't already. There's no better way to help this channel other than hitting us up on Patreon. Becoming a patron not only gets you access to the full Monomyth story, as much as written so far, but also the comic book, artwork, and your name in all our projects. You'll also be supporting all our great artists, voice actors, illustrators, musicians, and more. That being said, thanks Shadow Fox, Arya Gamari, Charles Tam, Jace Moreland, and Lunder Lumen for your continued support. I also want to give a shout out to Rico, our Fiverr artist, for giving us this wonderful rendition of Krampus inspired by Krampus253 of Washington. Please shoot Rico a commission on Fiverr, as they're extremely talented, and I'm also going to include some links to Krampus' social pages. If you're in the Puget Sound area, you might think of going to one of the great photo opportunities. One last thing before I close out, I don't normally do this, but I just have to be thankful for Bree's help here too. In a way, I guess if I were playing Santa, then she would be my Krampus. I may put out these videos that keep the channel going, but I couldn't do it without her handling all the other aspects from SEO, Fiverr management, and even the schedule of when these videos air. Without her help, the videos would be so erratic and I'd never be able to keep up. It's good to have a team. Me, Bree, our artists, our Patreons, and all of you. Thanks everyone. Yo Saturnalia.